Oh, where were you? Hurry along now, because court is about to get back in session when we take a look at this guy. This is the Unique Toys UT-W05 Sharpclaw. It is their offering in honor of the Predaking leader known as Razorclaw. And he is going to be our focus in the latest GotBot True Review as we continue to reflect on toy offerings that we've gotten over the last few years in honor of the Transformers character known as Predaking. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or if you're here for the first time, then welcome to the channel. I am your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and more important than ever now, hit that subscribe button, show me a bit of love. Please check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor, and me everywhere on social media. And we're going to jump right into this guy, but before that, I want to give a few shout outs to a few people. First, to Masterfire, longtime supporter. Check out what he's doing on his channel. Also to Thomas, also known as Duck King, and check out what he's doing as well. A whole bunch of new supporters that I want to give a little bit of recognition to. Nordic Frost, Adam Templeton, Adnan Ali, Adam Desantes, Manologio Robatach, I don't know if I'm saying that one right, The Lazy Prime, Kid Chuckle, Jordan Z Review, and Keanu Isaac Winoco. If I said anybody's name wrong, I humbly apologize. I'm just trying to show my appreciation for you being here, kind of joining in with the gang and having a look at these guys with us. So, Sharpclaw, if you will, is a fine figure for what he is. Unfortunately, he is running for his original asking price. And if you've been following along, then you know that some of the members of this set have reduced in cost over the years, and I think that that helps their score and helps them to be seen in a more positive light. But then we've had others that have retained what their original asking price was. For this guy, that ranges, from what I've seen, between $106 and $109 US. That's a hefty price tag for something that in essence is about the size of the Transformers Power of the Primes Grimlock. It's basically a Voyager class figure. Now, his higher price tag could be because he comes with ever so many accessories, many of which are used for his combined mode later on. And perhaps part of it has to do with just how significant this guy is. At least if you believe in Beast Wars Dawn of Futures Past. According to that storyline, after the Decepticons lost the Great War and Megatron was kind of out of the picture, this guy was unaccepting of the outcome and basically started to lead a ragtag group that grew over time. Naturally, instead of calling them Decepticons, he called them Predakons. And eventually he was betrayed by, I believe, the Tripredacus Council. Later, he would be revived and kind of, seek some payback against the descendants of the Autobots, known as the Maximals. In other words, what I'm telling you is, at least according to that storyline, in essence, here's the father of the Beast era Predakons. Very interesting twist and a nice way to kind of connect, or another nice way to kind of connect the G1 era with something later. No, of course, at the end of the day, it's still a toy, and is it worth the cost of admission? Good question, and we're going to delve into that. So, without wasting any more time, how about we get over to the table and take a closer look at this guy? And so here we have the leader of this group, and he's another example of someone that's retained his value over time. And I suppose it's not surprising, since he is an integral part of the combiner itself and comes with so many accessories. That being said, just to reiterate, is it justified? Well, let's not waste any more time because we don't have it to spare. Let's look at all of his accessories right now. So we take him out of it and we're left with this beautiful box that has fantastic artwork on one side, and on the bottom we have kind of a smaller image of the combined mode, and his name, of course, Sharpclaw. On this side of the box, we of course can see that it's UT-W05, and we see the glorious sword that he comes with. I totally dig it. On the other side, again, we have others that are available. Nothing new there to report. On the back, we have the product shot, but we also have a combined mode shot. And it talks about, down bottom, how he is the consummate professional, consummate hunter, basically. You know, relentless. We can see his torso mode up here. They talk about the feet again, largely because this guy is such an important part of the final overall combined mode. Undoubtedly, we can't neglect his ever-popular collector card. The artwork looks pretty fantastic on the front of it. On the back, of course, we have a bunch of stats. Obviously, his highest is intelligence and courage. Again, it's printed on this nice cardstock, but it's just a card. Moving on. Unlike others in this particular set, we don't get a gloss instruction manual. Instead, we get this image of the entire team with the combined mode above Sharpclaw. And it's, you know, it's nice. It's a poster. It is what it is. It's, you know, tri-folded, and when you open it out, you're gonna have those creases, but I guess if you take care, you can sort of flatten them out. As for his instructions, they're again printed on a separate piece, going from robot to animal and then showing his combined mode. Again, we do not have a printing here of his bio. That's only on the box. And next up we have this. It is the waist skirt for the combined mode. It goes on over the back of Sharpclaw and kind of slots down into position. We'll see that in a little bit. It's molded nicely with some silver detailing on the sides. And it does have a little bit of movement right there. Nothing major. I mean, it's a hip skirt. It is what it is, but it's nice that these can get it out of the way to allow for things such as leg movement to the side. Of course, this is only the back part of that hip skirt. We also have the front part and technically his abdominal region. The abs are molded in a nice black with red. We have excellent gold down on the hip skirt. I added the Decepticon symbol. What is nice is that these pieces are free-flowing. They can move forward to allow for, again, leg movement, this time forward. This will go on over the front. There is a tiny peg up here that is actually more stable than you would think. This slots in over and holds in quite securely. It's unfortunate, but just like the other hip skirt piece, this cannot go incorporated in the individual robot mode. From what I can tell, if somebody's figured out something different, hey, let me know. When not combined, it seems like these things will have to go laid to the side. Unfortunate, and does not really help the cause if you are not a fan of parts forming. Speaking of parts forming, here is the combined mode head. It looks great, even though the sculpting for the face mask, or at least the paint for it, is ever so slightly off for whatever peculiar reason. I like it. I like the antennas. I like the molding. I even like the movement. The way it attaches is quite secure. I'd hoped that maybe it could flip into the body, but it is just way too big, and we'll see that in just a little bit. And we are still not done when it comes to parts that incorporate in the combined mode. This is the enormous sword. It looks stellar. I love the molded detail. I love the gold that's used here. I don't think it's gold plastic. I think it's painted. I could be wrong. Some people might worry about something like GPS. I don't think you need to worry about that. This is, in my estimation, absolutely phenomenal. It's probably the best of the swords we have available, at least in my humble opinion. Of course, yours may differ, and that's fair too. And then, of course, we have these. Not quite. These are the wings that came on the Warhawk figure. They're small. You can see the size of my hand compared to them. They would be far too small for use with the combined mode. So what do we get? A separate wing pack that looks like this. And this is excessively larger. We have a slot here and a peg up here. We have two black kind of tabs over, not really tabs, clips over there. These four things is what holds this in place on back of the combined mode. As you can probably tell, it is significantly bigger than the wings that come with Warhawk. This, I think, looks fantastic, and it's relatively posable with the wings able to move backward and forward, and these pieces able to ratchet out. We'll talk more about this when we look at the full combined mode. And I'm sorry, did you think we were done? No, not quite. We have this. Actually, we have two of these. We have a molded hex peg over here. You can see it better right there. It will be able to go into the shoulder of Sharpclaw when he's in his kind of individual bot mode. And there's a way for this, two ways actually, for this to connect in combined mode. It is sculpted nicely. It is also retracted right now. In combined mode, the idea is to, if I can do it, extend it so that it kind of matches up better in that combined mode. I dig it. I like these, but they're brutal to get on. And you thought we were done, didn't you? No, this guy of course comes with a sword. And all that is gold, in this case, glitters very nicely. I love the molded in detail. There's absolutely no black or red here. It does, however, have a very impressive handle and hilt. I think that's the hilt of the sword. The fact of the matter is, it looks like the sword of a leader, and it is bigger than the other ones. Let's finally move on to the figure itself. And as previously mentioned, here he is next to the Transformers Power of the Primes Voyager class Grimlock, my slightly customized version with a blue visor. I looked at him in full in episode 345, but you can see that these guys pretty much stand head to head. So in essence, we're talking about a Voyager class figure. Whew. And here we are finally at the main event. It's taken us a long time to get here. His sword. It can, of course, go, I assume it can anyway, go into his hand. Yeah, it can. It can go into his hand just fine. No problem. I don't think that there's anywhere that you can store this sword again, unfortunately. If somebody knows something different, hey, let me know. And then, of course, we come to these shoulder pieces. He has, on his shoulders, kind of a hex slot, and these can go into that hex slot with a lot of force and pressure. It makes me a little bit nervous. You have a choice. Once you get them in there, you can leave them in there the whole time and try to put the arms of the combined mode in here. It brings the cannon slightly forward in combined mode, and I can't particularly get mine to slot in here when I put them together. So I have to actually put these where the instructions say to put them in the combined mode. But for purposes here, we will try to put these in. By the way, once they're in, getting them out is easy. You can get the leverage and pull it out, no problem. But getting these slotted in there is not easy. Let's see the luck we have. Oh, actually that one went in really nice. I am, color me surprised, I am shocked. So you can put that in there and leave it on his arm. Let's go over to the other one and see if we have just as much luck. Maybe if I do this straight down again. Ah! So my advice to you would be to hold on to the upper arm around the shoulder joint and kind of push the arm cannons on with your thumbs. It is the easiest time I've ever had putting these on. Once you have them on, they ratchet up quite strongly on his shoulders. Of course, you can have them facing down, facing forward, whatever it is that suits your tastes. All right, let's talk about the things that we normally talk about, which is paint apps, posability, playability, and articulation for this guy. Well, if you've been following this series, by now I'm sure you realize that I'm not really measuring these guys as I normally do based on their animation accuracy. If that was the case, then this guy should have not only black fists, but black forearms. His upper thighs sometimes were red. Sometimes they weren't. Sometimes they were yellow, so that varied. His lower hip area should have been gold rather than black, but I think the black looks fine. And of course, his face would have that weird kind of green texture to it. And the head would be down a little bit lower. Instead, this time, for once, I'm actually comparing it more to the toy. In this case, it is a much closer match. There are red sections missing up by his shoulders, but the face is largely done the correct color. The head and torso is, again, mostly correct. We're missing some kind of gold accents on the hips. The legs were yellow on the original toy. Here they're completely yellow. On the original toy there was also like a red section because of transformation and how legs kind of folded up into the, like the animal legs kind of folded up into the robot legs. The gold on his shins is a match. The red feet, they're a match. Even the kind of attachments on his shoulder are a pretty good match. Not perfect. I would say that as a representation of the character, this is a solid 8.5. It is no mistaking it. It looks great. Maybe not exactly perfect. What about posability, playability? As a torso, he works fine, not perfectly. We'll see that later on. In his animal mode, that's largely quite effective, I think. And in robot mode, we have a head that can go left and right. It can't really look up or down. We have arms. They can go all the way around. They can go out about that far, which is all right. We have a bicep swivel. And we have an elbow. I'm going to fold this up out of the way. By the way, I added the Decepticon symbols myself, obviously. We have an elbow that does not get to 90 degrees because of some kibble on the molding of the forearm. I think that is a shame. The wrists, they don't rotate or anything. They can kind of go forward and back a little bit. They can sort of rotate in, I guess. It's because of transformation and you kind of break the forearm sculpt, but I guess that counts, I suppose. We have quite a waist that can go all the way around. We have hips that go out to the side very nicely. They go forward on a nice clicky ratchet and back, as much as you could want them to. We have a thigh, well, not really a thigh swivel, we'll actually get to that. We have a knee to a little under 90 degrees, but it's pretty good. And we have a swivel. It's not at the thigh. It's down past the knee into the shin, but it's there. And of course, toe tilt. His articulation is all right. Certainly not perfect. Mostly effective. He stands nicely, but there are limitations as such. And because of the cost of this guy, I have to give his articulation at best about a 6.75 to a 7. It's fine. You'll be able to do most of what you want, but you got to realize that there are slight limitations to it, so you kind of got to work with them. All the joints on him, however, do feel pretty good, or at least on this copy, though I have heard various reports. So we have an 8.5 and we have at best a 7. This guy right now is scoring somewhere around a 7.5 to a 7.75. Not the most stellar, for such a high price tag, let's look at his transformation, shall we? So where do we begin with that? Well, as always, we're going to try and do the easy stuff first. You open up the head and you kind of just bring it all the way back on a black section here. You rotate this to put it inside. I'd hoped that we could keep the combined mode head attached here. We cannot. We bring this back up. And it can be a little fiddly to get it up. It's fine once you do, but you'll notice right now it can't go all the way up because we need to extend the body. That's really the only way I have found to be able to get the head all the way back up, because of course now you have something in there kind of filling what was an empty space before. So the body's extended. The head is inside. We'll do the front paws next because they're easy. Straighten out his shoulder, open up his hand, and you're going to rotate the hand inside. It's a little bit of a struggle to accomplish it. There. The tolerance is sort of tight. You get it inside, you close this back down, you turn the front paw around. Over on this side, you do the same thing. You straighten out the arm. You open that section out. You rotate the fist to the inside. You close it up and you rotate the paw around. As for the head of the lion, that's pretty easy. You hinge it out. There's a hinge way in by the body and one up by the head. You hinge it out and then you hinge it all the way up. It is highly intuitive, but this is really the front of the lion mode done. The jaw opens and closes. I leave it open in robot mode. You don't have to, but I like to do it. So we bring that up and there you go. Whew. And now we are going to deal with the lower body, which is probably the most challenging part of the transformation for anything from this set, at least in my experience, and difficult to explain. We fold up the toes and the toes. We need to unfurl the legs from this panel. It opens up and comes out straight. Opens up and comes out straight. To the side, behind, whatever you want to call that. Inside the leg we have a red section right there. We bring that whole red section out. It's the hind leg of the animal mode. And this is what we now have. Of course, this isn't quite good enough, is it? Because we don't have the legs in close to the body. They're not up over the thighs. We sort of combine our wars it in, but not exactly. I know it sounds strange, just stick with me. You see, what we have in here, and I'm gonna kind of split the legs a bit to help, is a black hinge that's attached to a flat black piece. We're going to angle that out and down, and you can probably see the black hinge in here now attached to that piece. As you bring the thigh down, you're going to sort of slot it in. Now it needs to fit the right way, and it does fit a specific way. When that's done, you can bring the leg down. Take this panel, fold it in, and then fold that one over. Same on this side. Bring it down on this hinge, and bring it all the way in. And again, I don't like this part. I'm not a fan of how this was done because it's so very specific. And this one still is not correct. And now we are just about finished. All we need to do is bring out the tail, which does like to pop out. And it's not a very big tail, but in the end, boom, here you have the lion mode. Now I know what some people are going to say, wait, that's not quite done. They're going to call me out on it, and you're correct. I extended the body to make it easier to flip the head in, but you can close the body back up and angle those legs a little bit. But really, in the end, boom, there's your line mode. I don't think it's the best, but I can see what they were going for. I mean, when you look at the body, those hind legs are way back. Now, some people have said you can angle those legs down like this, and indeed you can. That, I don't know, does that look better? It's an okay mode, but this is definitely one where something was sacrificed for the necessity of combining. What about the articulation in this mode? Well, the tail can move, though it does like to pop out at 2 hinges. The legs, as you saw, they can move like this, and they can move out to the side because of the hip joints. These hind legs here, they can kind of bend forward. The paws move a bit. The shoulders, they can still go out to the side and go all the way around. The paws are on ball joints so they can move. The head has a mouth that opens and closes, but other than that, it is pretty much static. It's all right articulation. It's not as strong as the other ones in the set. The transformation to this, not the most fun. Definitely not. In fact, you probably saw me stumble over some stuff, and that's because there are aspects that I just did not enjoy with this guy. I'm not going to grade it yet because we have one more mode to go through, his torso mode, and we're going to do that now. I already talked about his transformation, said we have one mode to go, so how do we get there? Well, let's begin to take a look. We open up this. We bring out the fist again, bring this down, and turn the paw around. This time you're going to want to actually snap it in. In order to snap it in, you're not worrying so much about snapping this in. The fist itself kind of has a hole on it that goes over a peg inside the arm. You need to make sure it's snapped in this time so you lose that kind of outward articulation that we talked about earlier. It needs to be snapped in so that it can go in close to the body. We're going to do the same on this side. We're going to fold that out, bring it down, snap it in, turn it around. We're going to collapse the arms. And we're going to pop off the tail. We'll lay that aside for now because that always happens. We're going to open up these thighs again, and now you need to extend them again. It's easiest if we extend the body once more. Now, this is, like I said, this is hard to show. Now that whole hinge and black piece need to come out. You are not going to find it the easiest. You want to be sort of delicate with it, but if you can get it on a little bit of an angle, it helps. The instructions do not help to figure this out for the record. There. I pick it up by this little edge here, and then I angle it all the way up. Bring it in. Open this out. Put the claws up. And fold that whole piece back in. Close this around, close it down. Okay, so finally we can kind of work things out here. I have put the tail that fell off back on and folded it up into the body. Next we need to turn the hips around because the toes need to be facing forward. Then we take the rear hip skirt, and there's no real finesse to it other than to take it, bring it out so that it goes over the hips, angle it up, and push it all the way down. Then we take the front piece, and I mentioned the little peg. Well, the little peg goes into this little hole here. Yeah, this little hole right here. And the rest of it kind of just pushes on. It's sort of going down and under these edges of the chest there. Just like that. It goes on nicer than you would expect, actually. Now we can bring the head down and we bring the arms in. When we bring the arms in, we have a little round peg hole right there and a little round peg on the arm itself. And we take that in and we take that in. Now you have a choice here. You could put the limbs, the arm limbs on here, but that's not what we're going to do. I need to get these off. And that's all about getting just a little bit of leverage to pop one off. And on this side, however it is that works best for you, like I said, a little bit of leverage. And we put these pieces into the body. Close them up. And in like that. Now there's another option here. You might not want the fists out. Well, you could always open it up and put them kind of inside, I do believe. It's not what I'm doing because it's easier to handle it with those left out. I don't really notice them. I don't really care because there's so much going on with this guy. Who am I kidding? I put them in for you because I know that somebody somewhere would have been bothered by it. This is the official way to do it. Now it's a bit more of a pain to kind of open up those flaps with the hands inside. The things I don't do for you people. Anyway, on the top now we have 2 holes up here. And we have on the head 2 pegs right here. This just slots down on the top. And it does secure nicely, very nicely, enough that we have articulation all around and it does not come off. We're almost done. All we need to do now is put on the wing pack. And the wing pack, I already mentioned how that is. Now, we have a slot up on the back and we have a peg. Is that how it goes? Yeah, we have a slot up on the back and a peg down lower, and those black clips that I mentioned go over right here and right here. I had to shave off some plastic hair because the clips are rough to get in there. It's easy to kind of get the backpack on from just the 2 centerpieces on the back. It's hard to get those clips on as well, but putting them on really secures the arms into the body so that they stay as part of the torso when you're moving things in combined mode. So I'm just going to get this on because it is a chore and kind of show you when it's done. And now I have the backpack on. It wasn't too bad getting there. A black clip here, a black clip on that shoulder, you know, a peg into a slot there and a peg into a slot on the lower back. But in the end, finally, here is our combined mode torso. Of course, he has no limbs, but we're going to fix that next time. His transformation. It's about a 7. There are things here that, it's not that it's bad, it's just that it's fiddly and finicky, like the legs. Because there's a lot of parts forming here, I could see that bothering a lot of people. It doesn't bother me, but I could understand the argument against it. He was scoring about a 7.5 to a 7.75. I'm going to be generous and say a 7.75. Overall, he's about a 7. And I don't think that a 7 is quite good enough to warrant that original price point. He looks great, but it's sort of a nuisance getting him from one mode to the other. And of course his articulation does have certain limitations to it. And so here we are again, and what can I say? I like the look of this. I have the wings splayed out now, and before anybody says anything, alright, I admit there was something that I deliberately left off when I said, boom, he's done in this mode. I just wanted to see who would catch on, and I bet you did. You people are smart. Of course, I do not have these cannon pieces on, largely because I just wanted to point out and remind you that they could stay in the arms here, and you could put a limb on the outside here, so you could have them positioned here. I don't really like that because I don't find that the limbs stay locked in here at all. There is a little tiny teeny weeny tab right about there, and it goes into a little hole up right there. We'll show this later on in combined mode, but just to keep everybody happy and on the same page here, I'll put that one in there, and I'll put this one I know that this is in the way of my face, but that's okay because this guy probably looks more impressive anyway. Nevertheless, here we have his torso in all of its glory. Now, that being said, as great as this looks, there is definitely a lot of parts forming that goes into making it. Like I said, I'm fine with it. I totally understand if other people aren't. I see the argument for it. It is a little bit of a chore to get here. A little bit of a chore to get in the line mode, which is alright, but not stellar. At the end of the day, I understand why this guy would cost more than your typical Voyager class figure. But I don't think it should go for the full cost that we usually see for him. I would put it to you this way. A typical Voyager in these parts runs at about $30. This guy runs for $109, and that is a difference between Canadian and American. At the end of the day, I would say that the true value of this guy would be somewhere, because of all of the extra parts that do come with him, I would say a more reasonable price would be somewhere around $60 Canadian. I'll even say $59.95 US. Of course, I'm talking about a lot of dollars and cents there, and it's just my opinion. Perhaps you do think he's worth the full cost of admission, but I say this to you. This is one figure at about $109. Interesting when you consider that he can also be had as part of a box set. That is far more appealing at a much lower price point. We'll talk about that next time. On the whole, I like the guy, but I certainly think that he would benefit from the same sort of reduction that others on his team have had. Anyway, I'm excited about seeing how these guys merge into one giant robot and how that stacks up with some more popular releases that we all kind of know and love. Let me know what you think of this guy. I like him. He works for me. As always, I appreciate you dropping by, giving me some of your very valuable time. Again, I'm going to say please hit that subscribe button, stay with us, join the community, pitch in, lend me a hand, and with all of that out of the way, the only thing left to say is I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.